Welcome to this video on an alternate ending for Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, right off the bat, I want to let you know this is a spoiler heavy video, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, go check it out and then come back here. I'm going to be touching on a couple plot points, but my hopes are that by the end of this video, you'll maybe agree with my version of how Batman vs Superman should have went down. Now, just to put it out there, I'm not a DC fanboy or a DC hater, so I'm pretty unbiased going into this. I will say that I liked Man of Steel. I thought it did a pretty good job setting up the DCU. However, I can't say the same thing for this movie. There were just too many mistakes to ignore. I did my best to go along with it, but in the end, I was kind of disappointed. But I'm not here to review the movie. There's already a bunch of YouTubers doing that already. And I think they'll all tell you the same thing. The storyline was bloated, the editing was choppy, and the fight scenes were kinda cool, but they were kinda ruined by the trailers. Either way, I trust you've already formed your own opinion of the movie. Instead, what I want to do is propose an alternate ending by changing one thing about the movie, which is that Batman should have killed Superman, not Doomsday. I think this would have made for an overall better movie, if not a more interesting ending. Now, I'm not crazy, I have a reason for this. I think it would have made more sense for this movie and the DCU as a whole. But before I get into my reasoning, I want to highlight a couple points from the film. Now, my first big problem with this movie are the villains. Aside from horribly miscasting Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, they also butchered Doomsday. CGI disaster aside, they really could have replaced him with any C-list villain, especially since Wonder Woman was doing work. Work. You see me heavy work. All by herself. Ultimately, these two characters were wasted to me. They're two of Superman's biggest villains in the whole DC universe, and they were wasted in a non-Man of Steel sequel. I think that might have been a big mistake on DC's part. Doomsday is also the reason why this movie is more Dawn of Justice than Batman vs Superman, which is why I want to get rid of him altogether. Now, next up the bat is the Dark Knight himself, Batman, who's pretty damn good in this movie, and absolutely brutal in his beatdowns. He took down 100 guys without so much as batting an eye. And while he isn't a gun-wielding vigilante, he's pretty lethal with that grappling gun. Not to mention, I don't think anyone survived the machine gun fire or the missile attacks from the Batwing or the Batmobile. Those are both pretty cool scenes. This is obviously a very different Batman from previous ones, one who isn't afraid to kill. And it seems that the DCU isn't afraid to cross the line when it comes to making unconventional and non-traditional decisions regarding their superheroes. This universe seems a little bit more realistic by making their superheroes kill when necessary. And if Ben Affleck's Batman hates Superman as much as he would like us to believe in this movie, then there's no reason why he wouldn't do what he set out to do, which is put an end to Superman. This would also make for an interesting parallel since Superman killed Zod out of necessity and Batman believes he's doing the same, especially after seeing the destruction that he caused in the end of Man of Steel. Let's talk about one of the biggest events in this movie. Superman dies, and no one really cared. One guy did cry, but that was really more for comedic purposes to make everyone else laugh. How is it that DC kills their biggest superhero, their symbol of hope, and not elicit any emotion from the audience? It's because no one really cared for Superman. I know I didn't. I wasn't really emotionally connected to the character in any way. In fact, I was more connected to Bruce Wayne and Batman than I was Superman, which is weird given he only had 15 minutes in the beginning of the movie to introduce his character, and Superman had 2 hours and a half of his own origin film. I think the main reason behind this lack of connection with Clark Kent is because he doesn't really have much to do in the movie as Superman. All he really does is walk around with that moody expression on his face all the time, and that isn't really appealing to the audience. Come on, we were talking more about Zod's death more than Superman's, which is weird given he's not even one of Superman's most popular villains. That just goes to show how much they really screwed up Superman's death. The fact that he doesn't even have much screen time during this movie before his death is also a big mistake on their part. It's also important to note that there was a deliberate decision made to kill Superman very early in the writing process for this movie. Zack Snyder recently said in an interview that he had to kill Superman in order for Batman to found the Justice League. Since the studio already decided that Superman had to die to set up future films, I decided not to change that part of my alternate ending. This next point is really more of a personal gripe, but I feel like a lot of people might feel the same. Comic book stories are really great for having impossible situations that the superheroes need to find a way out of. Usually they're only given 2 choices, but they seem to find a third way out. In this movie, Superman has to choose between saving his mother or killing Batman, But as usual, he found another way out. And personally, I wanted a decisive ending to this fight. I wanted to know who would win between Batman versus Superman. Instead, what we got was a typical cop out. I'm tired of Superman fans saying there's no way he would lose to Batman. I'm tired of Batman fans saying that he could totally beat Superman if he was prepared. What's their excuse in this film? This movie could have given a clear answer to the timeless question, who would win between the two? But instead, they went with a weak resolution based on the coincidence that their mom has the same name. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't really wait 3 years for a tie. Now, everyone's getting pretty hype over this fight, like it's World Star or something. But I'm not going to give it that much credit. I thought it was about average at best. Not to mention, the fight's only about 10 minutes long, and given that the movie is 2.5 hours, and the fact that it starts about 6.5 hours later into the movie, that's not really good enough. Also, Superman fought those two randos in that weird metal ball tentacle thing, and man, it's still longer than he faced Batman. Now that we've summarized the main points, let's look at the story plot. Batman hates Superman, Superman must fight Batman, in comes a third party called Doomsday, Superman and Batman team up to fight Doomsday, but in the end, Superman must ultimately die. For looking at this formula, all I'm saying is that if we take out Doomsday, you'll see that we'll get most of the same story beats and get more of the Batman vs. Superman that we wanted and less of the plot for Dawn of Justice. And this is basically how I came to this conclusion, that this would be a better ending for the movie. It gives you all the things that you want and still covers the critical plot points. We needed something that was going to surprise us and catch our attention, and this would have been it. If the powers that be already decided that Superman had to die, then why not make Batman give the final blow? It makes a whole lot more sense given that they already hate each other in this movie. Now let's talk about the aftermath. What happens after Batman kills Superman? Well, like I said, we could go to that Lex Luthor subplot I was talking about earlier. It'd be better used to set up a future film, preferably Man of Steel 2, but it could set up Dawn of Justice, or the Justice League overall. What I'm suggesting is they keep most of the stuff they did in this movie. They show him getting Zod's body, they show him going into the Kryptonian database, and they show him possibly even doing that weird scene where he's putting blood on his face. But what they don't do is they don't show Doomsday. I think fans of the comics and movies would appreciate that more. That way they can go back and look at the movie or look at future trailers and be like,
oh my gosh, is that an Easter egg for Doomsday? Is he going to be in the next movie?
they could have did this the same way they kind of set up Darkseid in this movie. The way they did that was perfect. I didn't even notice it the first time I saw the movie. It was subtle and it was in there, and it told you that he was coming if you looked hard enough. That's what they needed to do with this movie, but there wasn't enough subtleties. I think that would have generated more excitement in my opinion. How they left it now, I'm not really invested in the DC universe. Now another thing they could do is extend the Batman storyline. Like I said, Batman's pretty much the best part of this movie, so I don't think anyone would mind seeing more of him. And we all know that Batman is the world's greatest detective, so why not have him do some investigative work? What I'm suggesting is rather than having Lois Lane follow the bullet to Lex Luthor, that should be Batman. Lois Lane really has no reason to be sticking her nose there anyway, so it seemed kind of weird to me. Okay, real quick. Amy Adams, I get it. You're a strong, independent woman and a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. That's still no reason for you to be in the middle of gunfights and falling off of buildings. Come on, girl. Get your life together. This is the second movie you're pulling this. Alright, enough of that. Back to the video. What this could do is it could lead to a really cool stealth scene where we see Batman entering Lex Corp's and hacking the mainframe. That's another thing we haven't seen yet in the movie. Batman's a detective, or Batman doing stealth work. I think those would make for some really memorable, cool scenes. Now, how do you think Batman would react to finding out he was manipulated into killing Superman? Chances are it's not going to go well for Lex. In fact, I see a Batman revenge plot coming up. And who doesn't like their Batman story with some revenge in it? Now, let's take it one step further. Let's say Batman not only finds out he was manipulated and told to kill Superman, let's say he also finds out about Doomsday. Batman may try to take out Doomsday by himself, but after he sees it's not going to work, he'll have to enlist the help of Wonder Woman and the other metahumans to form the Justice League. Then they'll have to work together to take out Doomsday, and right when they're losing, in comes Superman to help save the day. Now I don't know how they're going to exactly bring Superman back to life. I don't even know why he died. But I do know that they're going to be bringing him back in a big way, and this is most likely it. But boom, finally the Justice League is united and they all take out Doomsday together. That would have made for a great movie. This is the movie that they were trying to make but didn't. The reason is because they rushed it. If they let the story form organically and maybe take one or two more movies to get to this point, we would have had a much better resolution than the one we have here. Last, I think Batman killing Superman would have helped his death. While we're not emotionally connected to him, I think the circumstances of his death would have made for a more impactful one. I think seeing Batman kill Superman would have made history in comic books and in movies. DC doesn't seem to be afraid to make some crazy, if not controversial, moves, and I kinda like that, because let's be honest, they're competing with Marvel. If they want to stand out and even have a chance of beating them, they need to pull off some really big moves. This would have been one of them. So there you have it. Those are my reasons why I think Batman should have killed Superman and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. So, am I batshit crazy, or do you think this would make for a better ending, if not a more interesting one? If you do, give this video a like and let me know in the comments down below. Or, if you could change one thing about the movie, what would it be? Let me know in the comments section. Maybe I'll make another video exploring some of your ideas. Thanks for watching, and be sure to share this video on Twitter and Facebook. Till next time. So if both our moms have the same name, does that make us best friends?
Who cares? Why are you even talking about this movie anyway? It's all about Civil War now.
Yeah, but was I the only one who thought about Inception when I saw that little dirt rise?